Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to get Excalibur in Warframe as part of my 2019 sort of Warframe guide series. Now, the beginner guides are going to be continued and all that stuff, but that's not what you're here to learn about. You're here to learn about, how to get Excalibur. Now, I'm assuming, saying you're watching this video, you're probably a new player. So I do have a beginner guide series for 2019. It's currently a work in progress, but there's a lot of info in it. But, yeah, let's learn about how to get Excalibur. So, most players, I would say, in today's day and age of Warframe, would be recommended to choose Vault as their starter Warframe, and the reason for this being is because he is the more expensive out of the free to obtain. Excalibur and Mag are pretty good, but Vault is just more expensive to get compared to the other two because you have to join a clan, you got to do all the research, and then you got to buy his blueprints, then you got to get all the resources, then you got to craft them and all that jazz. You got to get, the blueprint parts or part blueprints for Excalibur and whatnot, but to get vaults is just a little bit more costly in the form of credits and whatnot. So that's why I recommend going with Vault as a starter Warframe. So we're going to be using Vault in today's video, and we're going to be using pretty basic builds, right? We're going to be using Vitality right here for our health. We're going to use a flawed continuity to make our abilities last a little bit longer. We're going to be using Streamline, so our abilities cost a lot less energy, right? We have Intensify on here, so they have a higher effect, so our speed ability speeds us up a little bit more. Our first ability does more damage. We've got Redirection on here for more shields, so we're just a little bit more tanky. Now, usually you don't mod for shields in Warframe because shields aren't that worth it, but if you're a newer player, it's definitely worth it. And then if you want, you could also throw on the mod known as Flow, and this is going to increase your overall energy capacity. Now, this is like a very easy to put together beginner build that I would recommend that you go for if you're trying to farm Excalibur as a beginning player. You don't have to worry about this energy siphon mod right here, but it's worth noting that you can get this energy siphon mod from the Nightwave Daily Challenges vendor. So that is up here to your left of this little radio right here. There's a bunch of challenges on here which you can do. You get these wolf credits. You go to the credit offerings, and it will be on rotation in here sometimes, so you can pick it up. So these are aura mods, right? And they're just going to increase the capacity of your Warframe whenever you equip one that has a matching polarity, right? So it doesn't necessarily matter about the matching polarity. Well, it does, because you get a higher bonus, like your Warframe capacity is increased by a lot more, but you don't necessarily need to match. Just go for the one which you think will benefit you, right? So that was your beginner Vault build. Move on to the Bolter. We're going to use Serration, which is just for our damage. We're using the flawed version of that. We're using Hellfire, which is heat damage, which is going to just increase our overall damage, and Stormbringer, which is going to make radiation damage for us, right? So ideally, you would be using corrosive damage in this boss fight that we're going to do to get Excalibur, but because you are a newer player, you most likely won't have the Toxin 90% elemental damage mod for your primary, secondary, and melee, and you're more likely to have the electric and fire one. Just from my personal experience playing as a new player on a lot of different accounts, I always get the fire and electric mods before I get the toxin mods. So radiation is still a good elemental combo to use versus the Grenier faction, which is what we're going to be playing against. So I recommend putting these two mods beside one another in your modding section to make that radiation damage, as this is going to boost up your damage substantially. And if you're wondering how to calculate your damage, just add these numbers together, right? 3.5, 28.0, 3.5 impact, and then radiation 63.0. You add all of those together, and that is your total damage output in the ideal scenario where an enemy isn't resistant or weak to any of the damage types on. So Slash is a damage type, Puncture is a damage type, Impact is a damage type, and Radiation is a damage type. In the ideal scenario, all these numbers added together is how much damage your weapon would be dealing to that enemy, right? And then, of course, there's things to factor in like your fire rate and reload speed and whatnot, which will equate to your DPS calculations and stuff like that, but we're not going to worry about that in this video. So moving on to our Lex, okay, the weapon that I was showing you there was the Boltor. You can pick this up relatively early on. You can actually get it rewarded to you as a blueprint from one of the relays. Not too sure if you're going to have that. I don't know all of the relay rewards off by heart, but you can go to the market and then purchase the blueprint for this and then go ahead and craft it. Next up, we have the Lex. So this is your sort of like hand cannon Desert Eagle pistol, which you can buy for 50,000 credits just straight out. You don't have to craft or anything. Same concept, you've got your damage mod, Hornet Strike, and then you throw on radiation damage by throwing on Heated Charge and Convulsion, so that's fire plus electric. Just make sure that they're beside one another in your modding section, and then that will make your radiation damage, and then that'll be good for this boss fight that we're going to do. Then moving on to our melee weapon, we have the Scanna. The Scanna, again, more or less the same concept. Don't worry about this mod up here, Swooping Falcon. You can just go ahead and remove that if you want, or just, you know, pretend it doesn't exist, I guess. Pressure Point for your damage, Fury for your melee attack speed, because that's going to increase your DPS, basically like a fire rate mod in a sense. Then Shocking Touch for your electricity damage, Molten Impact for your fire damage, making radiation, increasing your overall damage. So that's awesome. That's cool. This is the loadout that we're going to be using for this boss fight. Basically handicapping myself, so then it's more of a reflection of a beginning player experience going into this fight, right? So to get Excalibur, go to the market, go to categories right here, go to Warframes, and then look for Excalibur, or you can just go ahead and type them in. So let's type in Exca, and then we get Excalibur. Press this little blue credit icon on the top right, and then purchase the blueprint for 35,000 credits. Okay, so you purchase that, and that's going to be added to your foundry. So if we back out of this and we go down to the foundry, and we go to our Warframe tab, and we type in Excalibur, we can see that we have the blueprints, and I have the Excalibur chassis and the Excalibur Neuroptics, the blueprints for them, and we need to get the Excalibur systems, right? So you're going to get the Excalibur chassis blueprint, Excalibur Neuroptics blueprint, and Excalibur systems blueprint from a fight on Mars on the node War versus the boss known as Lich Krill. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to kill him today using the loadout that I showed you. And from this fight, you're going to get rewarded that Neuroptics blueprint, that chassis blueprint, and the systems blueprint. So just get the Mars, progress to Mars, and then press War. It's going to load us into the mission, and then all we have to do is go through this and kill the boss, and then get to the very end. And at the very end, we're going to be rewarded with our Excalibur Neuroptics blueprint, chassis blueprint, or systems blueprint. Neuroptics and chassis share the same drop chance of 32%, where the systems has the lowest drop chance out of the three at 28%. So as you can see, because we're just running a regular damage mod, well, the flawed version, Serration plus radiation damage, we're killing these enemies pretty quickly. I'm not using anything else to buff me up in any way, shape, or form. And these enemies die pretty fast. So it's combining the fact that the Boltor is mainly puncture damage, which is good versus the armored enemies, and you can tell that they're armored because of the yellow health bar. Puncture is good versus armored enemies, and then radiation gives you a pretty decent damage increase. So these guys die pretty quickly, and there's no super tedious enemies to fight here apart from the boss. And this boss that we're going to be fighting to get off these Excalibur part blueprints is the first boss in the game that is completely immune to all damage until you do something to take him out of his immune phase, right? So that was the boss that appeared on the right hand side of the screen there, and this is the boss area right here. The boss area is always going to look the same. So here's the cinematic. I'll let you watch that. He kind of drags his hammer in and does a big old slam. Now that slam move, pretty iconic, because we're going to be making him do that a lot, right? So what we have to do with this boss is we have to get behind him and then shoot these pipes on his back until they burst. So there's 4 pipes on his back, and then once you burst that pipe, try to beat out that slam move, and then he's going to freeze himself, right? So there's a slam move, and he freezes himself completely. I'm just going to go ahead and kill the mobs that are around me. The reason I can just, you know, tank all the mobs that are around me is because I have an upgraded vitality and upgraded redirection. You want to be upgrading those mods first whenever you're a beginner player, just so you can, you know, take a lot of damage. And you'll see that the boss is back to normal again, right? So we just do the same thing again. We get behind him. If you're having trouble getting behind him, just beat him into a melee attack and then run behind him, and then shoot his pipe until it bursts. Because you're using the Boltor, should be pretty straightforward, right? So now we just beat out this attack. Being a dude. There we go. And now he throws himself again, which is awesome. Gonna kill some more mobs around us. Don't be afraid to use your abilities, like your first ability, to just, you know, kill a big grip of them pretty fast. Alright, so he's unfroze again. We basically do the exact same thing. Just shoot the pipe on the back of the guy. Struggling a little bit with this one because he keeps on turning himself around. There we go. There's another pipe down. Now we beat him into the slam attack again. Stand in front of him. There we go. kill bad guys that are around us by using our first ability. If you want to, you could throw on a stretch mod as well, a power range mod, to increase how many enemies you hit with one cast of your first ability. That could be pretty useful too, if you don't have the likes of Streamline or Intensify, right? So let's not take all that damage. Let's go ahead and shoot his pipe again. Make him do a big slam. If we can. There you go. He's going to do a slam. Hopefully soon. There we go. Kill some of the mobs that are around us. And then he's going to be completely frozen. And what he's going to do now is he's going to go into a fire state, right? Instead of this ice state, he's going to go into a fire state. So he's going to be completely invulnerable whenever going into this state. I recommend placing down an electric shield. And then whenever you're able to damage him, aim for the head and shoot him through your Volt Shields. And the reason you want to shoot through your Volt Shield is because it's going to add extra electric damage, which is going to stack into your radiation damage, right? Because you're, you know, making radiation damage by combining fire and electric. So just think of it kind of like bonus radiation damage, right? So the alarms were turned on there, so you got to go ahead and turn off the alarm system just by walking up to this console and then doing the puzzle, which is pretty straightforward. And now we run to the exit. And at the exit, we're going to be rewarded with our Excalibur blueprint, or part blueprint. Okay. So here's the exit. Exit is going to be the same every single time, unless they plan to rework this tile set. We get the Excalibur systems, right? So awesome. Great. We're going to go back to our ship, and then we're going to craft the Excalibur chassis, the Excalibur Neuroptics, and the Excalibur systems. I'm going to rush them with platinum just to sort of, you know, demonstrate what the process looks like, right? But these are going to take, I think, either 12 or 24 hours each. Let's just go ahead and do a big old double check. So we go down here, we type in Excalibur, right? So they take 12 hours each, so you want to craft them all at the same time, and in my opinion, that's the best way to do it. So go ahead and craft it. It takes 15,000 credits for the Excalibur chassis, and then whatever resources showed, 15,000 credits for this. Control modules, morphic, salvage, plastids. Go ahead, craft that. Neuroptics, 15,000 credits. Alloy, neural sensors, polymer, rivedo. Craft it. Let's go ahead and rush, because I've got a lot of platinum. I can afford to do that. We're all rushed, and then we go ahead and we build Excalibur himself. So that's going to consume the Neuroptics, chassis, and systems that we just built, as well as a single Oricon cell and 25,000 credits. And it's going to take 3 days to build, and it's also going to consume a Warframe slot, right? So to check if you have any slots, go to the pause menu, press equipment, go to inventory, and then if you go to the Warframes tab, you can see that you have an open slot, right? So if we go ahead and we go back to our Excalibur, type in Excalibur, okay, and I rush him, there we go. Awesome. We just got our first Excalibur Warframe. Go over to our arsenal, type in Excalibur, and there you go. We have a level 0 Excalibur, completely fresh, you know, no mods or anything on him, just level 0, nothing on him, no Forma, no Exos adapter, no Oricon reactor or anything like that. He's just there ready to use. Now your capacity is going to be a lot lower. This is just 26 because I'm master rank 26, and the base capacity that you have on your Warframe and your weapons is equivalent to what master rank that you are, right? So yeah, hopefully you learned a lot in this video. I, you know, tried to cover as much as I can. You could also bring this Taxon Sentinel with you as well. Taxon Sentinel is going to help out with the sort of crowd controlling aspect because of the weapon that he comes with, the Artax. That's a laser beam that freezes them, right? So it slows them down and makes the enemies less likely to hit you and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully you learned a lot from this video, and like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more Warframe content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.